When looking at model railroads, I think it's important to understand that each one, regardless of its size, has something to be appreciated. It's not very often that we as hobbyists get to start off with the most immaculate layouts, with the nicest scenery, the nicest rolling stock, the most beautiful sounding locomotives, or even locomotives with sound. It's normally a progression through this hobby. And thinking back to my own origins in the hobby, I think it's amazing, and I think it's fantastic when you can look back and reflect on the simpler times and be like, wow, I was there. I used to have that DC or AC power pack with my little oval track running around the Christmas tree, or my little train layout on the floor, before I actually got this 14 by 20 layout. I think it's those moments that are just the best. Looking back at those old pictures and being like, yeah, that was me. It's kind of like when you're losing weight, you got the before and after pictures, but on a different scale, on a model railroading scale. And I think that with the showcasing, it would be appropriate to start off with the layouts that are smaller. Now, that doesn't mean that these layouts are less important or less significant, and I'm trying to get them out the way, but I do think that through the showcasing, we should have a gradual build up in the level of detail in the layouts. Now, the layouts that we are going to begin with are special and for different reasons, but I really like what each one of these layouts represents for the first part of the showcase, and I hope you guys will understand and enjoy the simplicity of these layouts, because I think it's, like I said, it's really important to even look at the people who don't have the nicest layouts at this point. But you can look at them and be like, yeah, you're gonna enjoy that, but wait until later on when you get the real thing. When you get it to maybe get to where I am, or some of the other guys are. When you're really into the hobby. Anyway, without further ado, everyone, let's start off with part one of the long-awaited layout showcasing. Nolan NSWM Fitter. Now, this guy is really interesting, and I really like his layout. But I think what makes this guy so compelling is his story. Now, first off, let's talk about his name real quick, alright? There's actually one letter missing. It's supposed to be YNSWM, which stands for Your In-Scale World Modeler. This is because he has modeled around the world. He has modeled in the Philippines, he's modeled in parts of America, and he's also modeled in China. Now, for a reason why he travels around a lot is never really explained, but let me tell you, from what this guy has done and for how limited he was in the hobby, I have to say he's done some fantastic work. With the video footage that you're seeing right here is actually taken from when he was in China, and he said that he didn't have the opportunity to really buy a lot of scenery or rolling stock or anything because they didn't have any hobby stores where he was stationed, where he was. So what he had to do is he had to go to his teacher, his Chinese teacher, and use he said what was called the Chinese eBay, and he would purchase everything on the Chinese eBay and give his teacher cash, and she would go ahead and purchase it for him over the internet, and he would do that whenever he could, and that's how he got the layout that he had at this junction in time. Now, there's another layout that he did. I don't know where this one was located. I don't know if this one was still in China or somewhere else. But I'll probably leave that for you guys to find out when you go check out his channel. But I just wanted to talk about him because although it's not the most complex layout, it's not the most extravagant, not the most detailed, for what he had and for his limitations, he persevered through it all, and he made something that was fun for him. As you can see, it's pretty much a DC layout. I don't know if he was planning on doing DCC or not, but at the time, and maybe even still now, he's doing DC. But I know that he was really enjoying what he had, and from what I can see, it's a nice little in-scale layout. It's something simple, but it's something that is resourceful. It looks really good, and it looks like a lot of the materials that he was using were actually natural products from what he had around him. Like, I think looks like the gravel is actually real gravel from just like actual dirt that he got from outside, and I just really like his layout. And it looks like he made a lot of the little buildings and shacks themselves, And of course, they're not the most realistic, but that's okay because in my opinion, they still look fantastic. They still look nice, and better yet, this is in scale. In scale is I'll say this about in scale. It's a difficult scale to model because of its size. I know that you have the opportunity to have a bigger layout or more trackage because it's smaller. But you know what? It's just when it comes to working on the locomotives and the rolling stock and doing the scenery and all that, I could see how it would just be a pain in the behind just trying to deal with everything. But even with his limited resources, I still think this looks fantastic. I like the little beat up engine that he has over here in the corner of the mountain. I like, even the rolling stock that he has, the little road that he tried to make, the grade crossing, all of that. It's just a really fantastic layout just for its simplicity and just for his resourcefulness. So, but if you get a chance, check him out, man. Check out Nolan because his stuff is fantastic. Link will be in the description to his channel. And just enjoy a couple clips of some run-bys that I got of his China layout. Ah, Christmas! Who can hate Christmas? The most joyous time of year filled with cookies and cakes and Santa Claus and... Okay, what the hell am I talking about? This is getting really freaking corny real fast. Now, although all that other stuff is really great, nothing brings out the kid in the hobbyist more than a train display during the holiday season. Whether it be around a Christmas tree or in a department store window, or maybe even in a theater. Well, at least that's what my good friend Santa Fe 158 thought of anyway. Located at the Redford Theater in Detroit, Michigan, Santa Fe 158 has put on an amazing O-scale display as you can see. But his train layout is not the first Christmas display that the theater has had in the past few years. Before him, there was actually a G-scale layout that spanned the majority of the theater. Shortly thereafter, an HO Modular group took over for a while. Once they had retired, Santa Fe decided to take the role for himself. And as you can see, he's doing a fantastic job. So well, in fact, he told me there was one year that one of his trains derailed, and it was so packed in the theater he couldn't get to it for several minutes because of how many people were there surrounding the train display. And I can see why. Every aspect of it just screams Christmas. I mean, look at it. The white snow, the Lionel trains, the ceramic buildings. And honestly, in my personal opinion, you can't get a better train than Lionel when it comes to Christmas. Although I do put my HO trains around the Christmas tree, I will always have a special place in my heart for Lionel. And I just love the overall look of this. It's very whimsical, it's very playful, and really, Christmas train displays aren't meant to be realistic. They're meant to be imaginative, and I love that aspect of this. I love every little detail that he's put into this layout, all the lights in the buildings, and I actually have some of these ceramic buildings myself. I forget the company that manufactures them, but they're just so perfect, especially with O scale trains. And I love how he's using his top of the line Lionel stuff to show off at the children's display. Excuse me. I can just imagine the look on the kids' faces when they come to see this. I mean, the sounds alone from the locomotives are enough to draw any adult in. But for a kid to see a train with this level of detail, they can't help but be amazed. Christmas time is just such a special time of year. And growing up, I remember I loved looking at the TV, waiting to see what television programs would have the Lionel trains on. What TV programs would have just model trains on in general. And I wish the area that I lived in, I wish that they had something like this. We didn't. We never had a Christmas display anywhere close to this level. But if we did, I guarantee you I would have been there. And I'm so happy that Santa Fe 158 is doing this for his community and for the people that are around him, and holding up that tradition of having a train layout at the Redford Theater. It's something for the kids to enjoy, something for the parents to enjoy, and I'm happy he's putting this on just for everyone to come and take a look at, because this is great, man. And this is the reason why I wanted to put on the showcasing. Now, he doesn't just do this. He does have a layout at home. Although it's not a permanent layout, it's actually a floor layout. But still, that has some charm to it as well. That's actually how I found Santa Fe 158. I came across his YouTube channel, and he really, I think in the early stages, he just had some Williams trains, and then expanded into some Trainmaster Command Control locomotives. And now, as you can see, he's got some Lionel Legacy locomotives with the top of the line sounds, just fantastic models. But he also dabbles in other scales as well. He told me that he has a bit of G scale, and he also does some HO as well too. Last time he talked to me, he said that he was doing strictly DC, but I think he's done a bit of DCC as well. I'm not entirely sure, but he's primarily an O scale guy. Anyway, guys, I suggest that you check him out. He's got a lot of awesome content on his channel, and he's just a really awesome person, great guy to talk to. Santa Fe 158, Redford Theater Christmas display, O-scale model railroader. What more is there to say other than check him out? Growing up, some of my favorite memories in the hobby, and some of my earliest memories in the hobby, were with me having my model railroad on the floor. I remember when I was, what was it? I think I was 5 or 6. Actually, I remember one time in particular. Yes, I was about 6 years old. It was my 6th birthday, and my mom had bought me this Hot Wheels train set, but it was the coolest thing because it had switch tracks, and it had a crossing gate that worked, and it came with a train station, and it had a little lever on the side that had a conveyor belt that would actually put luggage into the cars, and all this crazy stuff. And I remember playing with that, and I remember the next day for my birthday party with my friends, my grandmother bought me another train set. And I remember wanting so desperately to put the two train sets together and run them on the floor. Although they were not even in scale, they weren't the same thing. They weren't even by the same manufacturer, excuse me. I really, really wanted to run the two trains together. And this YouTube video by John Vids, he and his son, that really takes me back to when I was a kid. I mean, look at this thing, man. If you're a kid and you have a layout like this, okay, just let's pause for a minute. Close your eyes and imagine you are this kid. and you just got this massive train layout in your living room with all this stuff going on, man. I mean, look at it. He's got Thomas. He's got, the Bachman Easy Track going. He's got a Thomas HO train running around the track, and he's got all these DCC and sound locomotives, all being ran by JMRI on the computer. That has to be the coolest thing. That has to be the coolest thing to grow up with that. Now, obviously, I mean, technically these trains aren't all his. I'm pretty sure his dad is enjoying it as well. But I just love layouts like this. I love this. I love the craziness of all the trains going around in different directions, just running all over the place. Bridges that don't end, unrealistic grades. As you can see, Henry's going down the little grade over there. Just all this stuff. It's just fun, and it's just really fun. I remember there was a time when my mom and we set up. Actually, one of the train sets I just mentioned, the one that my grandmother got for me for my 6th birthday, we took that one, and we actually also took my Thomas Brio train set. And what we did was, if you know anything about the wooden Thomas railway system, they have bridges and trestles and things like that. We had it set up to where this giant Thomas trestle that I had, right? The train that my grandmother bought me was just small enough to roll underneath. I actually think we had to take some of my toy blocks and put them underneath the trestle to raise it a bit. But I remember one train set going underneath the other one, and this layout right here embodies that same feeling, that same level of playfulness. Like I said, layouts don't always have to be the most realistic. It's about what's really what's fun to you, and I like John Vids because this is not a realistic layout, but look at all the action. Look at all the play value, man. How many trains does he have running here? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count, man. He's got more. He's got more trains running than I can count, and it's not all DCC. But you can tell that a good chunk of the layout is. You can tell that Dad has his stuff and the son has his stuff, and that's another thing that's great is the father-son bonding that's going on in this video. The level of bonding that can occur from a train layout like this. You can see that Dad obviously set it up, but he took little man's trains and he put them in the center, just to run around so he can, appreciate his little Thomas stuff too. And I just think that's so cool, man. For parents, for parents to get involved in the hobby with their kids is so great. I remember my mom doing that with me growing up. My grandfather, definitely doing that with me growing up. We used to look at train magazines every weekend. Classic toy trains back in the day, they used to come once a month. Yeah, they used to come once a month. So you get a magazine every month, 12 magazines a year. And I remember just looking forward to that and then going to my grandfather and showing him all the trains that I dreamed of having one day. And he told me, he's like, one day you're going to have all that stuff. And lo and behold, now I do pretty much all the major locomotives that I've ever wanted, I own now, with a few exceptions. I mean, of course there's always going to be something else I want, but now my love in the hobby is a bit more refined. It's a bit more. I don't even know a word to describe it. I don't want to say sophisticated. I guess, let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at refined. It's a bit more refined. I have a better understanding of locomotives and rolling stock and different eras and things like that, but I still run what I like. And that's what I like about John Vids, that these guys seem to run the type of trains they like. They don't have a particular era. They just run what's fun. And I respect that. I really respect layouts. And honestly, guys, I really love floor layouts. There is just a playful charm to a floor layout that you just don't get with the more realistic layouts. But although the more realistic layouts are preferred, and they are my preference, they are my favorite, I still do love seeing people with these elaborate floor layouts, and this is one of the more elaborate ones. I like all the different tracks that weave in and out. It seems like they have a pretty nice little train yard going on, station platforms, all sorts of stuff. I like how the trains are going behind the table or the desk or whatever that is right there. You can see the trains passing by each other. They look like they went all out on this, and that they're just having a blast running their HO trains. And that's what it's about, man. At the end of the day, that's what this hobby is about, enjoying yourself. So, I really think that this one is special. This one is really special. I like the father-son bonding element. I like the overall look of the layout. It's not the most complex, but you can tell it is there's a lot going on. For the amount of trains that he's running and all the switches and bridges and things that you see here, there's a lot going on. But anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. Check out John Vids, please. I believe he has a new layout now, which is a bit more realistic. I believe it's up on the table, and he's got a lot of cool stuff going on there as well. So yeah, check him out. I don't really know much about him. I've never really had the opportunity to talk to him, but I knew when I saw his layout, I had to put it in the showcase. And I do hope you guys check out his videos, because he's got a few, and the content on this channel is really interesting. If you like floor layouts, if you like father-son bonding, if you like the playful element of the hobby, please do yourself a favor. On a relaxing Sunday afternoon, just grab a cup of coffee or, a cup of tea and just sit back and just watch a video or two for about 20-30 minutes, man. It'll make you think.